Nice and untitled as I always do. So start integrated testing, the biggest and easiest testing bang for your buck. So this session's basically for anyone who's doing a little testing and want to get a bigger coverage, or if you're just starting testing, you're not sure where to start, this should be a good session for you. If you're doing a lot of testing, you still may learn something from it. So hopefully everyone gets something out of it. So who here has never written a test in their life? Okay, you get a book right now for being honest. First person to be honest. So I've got a couple of books to give away. One called Fusion CFML in 100 minutes. Luis Mahalo wrote it. Oh, you did? Okay, well, I'll save it for the next question. So if you put your hand down, you might should get something. I've got some stickers here too as well. So pay attention, stay awake. So who am I? I'm Gavin Pickin. I work for Order Solutions. I've been with them for over 4 years now. So you may know us for CodeBox, CommandBox, all the other box products. We've got a booth out there. What else do you need to know? Question, how many episodes of the CFML News podcast do you have? Anybody know?
Both types? One type.
Sorry?
Both types or one type?
The CFML News edition. Does anyone listen to the podcast? Dan, you want a book?
12. Guessing.
You want a book?
Yeah, sure.
You're the first one to say you listened to it. So. Okay. Well, we have a podcast, so every week we go live on YouTube and we also release it. Just talk about CFML News.
And the review goes on Amazon or just on Order Society?
Good.
If it's good.
Yeah, so we started these podcasts after Into the Box conference in May. So CFML News is a weekly podcast we put out to try and keep you up to date with like the latest blogs and videos and stuff that you might have missed. Usually I'm with Andrew Davis or Brad Wood talking about that. And then we have the Soapbox podcast, which is more interview style. We release those more periodically when I have time to record them. I'm going to chase a few people down after my session to get some more of those recorded. But I'm available on Twitter, GitHub, and I do blog on my blog site now and then. Most of the time I blog on Honest. But that's about me. Let's get on the show. So who's already testing? Actually, that's a big number. That's a pretty big number, so you guys broke the line. But the question is, you're all testing your apps already, you just don't really know. Because most of you guys are like, this guy, you're just clicking around the browser, and that's your testing. So we write some code, we see if it works. We're testing our code, it's just not the best way to do it. So the truth of the matter is that bugs hurt. The later in the process, the harder they are to fix, the harder they are to catch, and they hurt you. So the idea is you want to test early, test often to make sure you reduce those bugs. And the more testable your code is, the more maintainable your code is. That's sort of like the whole process and the whole reason we recommend testing. So bugs will hurt you. This is a graph. I don't remember where Luis stole it from, some big Gartner document or something at some point. But basically it just shows you, in building versus design requirements. The further down the line, the more they cost you, the harder they are to fix. So bugs hurt you, find them first. So there's lots of different types of testing. So usually the ones most people hear about is unit testing and integration testing. Some of these are actually different types of testing, and some are just different names for the same type of testing. So we'll talk about unit testing a little bit, integration testing, and as you can tell, integrated. We're going to talk more about integration testing today and how you can get some big ones with it. So important testing types, unit testing. So this is where you're testing a behavior of like an individual object. So if you're in a CFC and you have a function or a method that does something, the unit test would be where you test that piece of code. And a real unit test tests that piece of code, just what's inside of that, not what it calls or what something else does, but just what that code is doing. And so a lot of times you'll hear people talk about mocking. So the unit test, you should mock all the dependencies of that bit of code just to make sure that code does what it does. And then you'll test those other pieces when you do those unit tests. Integration testing is you're testing how everything integrates together. So it could be, the entire application from you hitting it in the browser, you're hitting the CFML page, it's going to a model or a service, reaching out to a DAO, hitting a database, maybe it's calling an API. All those pieces are involved. So an integration test tests all those different pieces and how they work together. And UI verification testing, that's when you sort of verify actually what's showing up on the page. Because you might be able to do certain functions, but maybe someone messed up the styles and now nothing looks right. And so UI verification testing is where it doesn't just function right, it looks right and behaves right. So those are sort of the 3 important types of testing. And if you guys have been to a testing one, I'm not going to go too much on that, I'm just going to sort of give you the basics before we jump in for get everybody on the same level. So important testing tools. So TestBox is a testing software from Water Solutions. It's free, open source. It's built on top of MX Units. MX Unit was an old one. So I think Mark was out right way back there. No, there's a few other people, sorry. But when they all left Cold Fusion, we took over, built it up, and made it bigger and better. IDE, if you're using your builder, CF Builder or Eclipse, or if you're using VS Code, you can run your tests from inside those as well. Mocking frameworks are important when you're testing. There's tools like Ant and other build tools that can be used as well. Pipelines, so Jenkins, Bamboo, TeamCity, GitLab, all the different pipelines. They're important when you're working testing. Selenium and tools like that, and things like JMeter where you can just load testing and stuff as well. So these are all different parts important when you're testing. What is TestBox? So as I mentioned, Water Solutions testing framework. So it's next generation testing. It's based on BDD, which is behavior-driven development. It's not called EDD, error-driven development. That's how I used to write all my code. But basically, it tries to make your tests fluent and readable. And if anyone's seeing JavaScript, Jasmine, for example, someone's from Ruby and then looking at Aspect, all the tests are very similar. We try to stay the same format and everything, so it's consistent. But TestBox also includes things like mockbots, which is for mocking and stubbing. So remember I talked about unit tests. You have to mock those fake things. Like a good example is if you want to test your app and see what happens when your API is down, like Twitter goes down, you can't just test that without waiting for Twitter to go down. So you need to mock that fake Twitter going down so your test can run and see if your app doesn't die completely when your API is down. And for those of you that have old tests, MX Unit style, X Unit style, TestBox support with it as well. So you can get TestBox on watersolutions.com/product/TestBox. It's available on ForgeBox, which is a package management, and you can install it through your device too. So, okay, integration tests. So as I mentioned, integration tests basically test several pieces together. Most of the types of tests in that list basically were a variation of an integration test. So there's black box, white box, and blue boxes. So most of our integration tests were testing more than one piece together. And you can include mocks, but full engineering tests can include, like I said, those APIs and databases. It's up to you. So it just depends if it makes sense. So unit testing, I mentioned before what it was, but if you look at the Wikipedia definition, which must be right because it's on the internet, it says unit testing is a software verification and validation method in which a programmer tests the individual units of code are fit for use. And like I said, it's the smallest piece of an application. So one function, just that little piece. So the good thing about unit testing is you can improve code quality, you can quickly get error discovery, you can have confidence in your code because you immediately know that these functions do exactly what they should do and nothing but what they should do. If you can't test that code easily, then usually it means you've got a highly coupled set of code, and that can give you other issues down the road too. And if you can't unit test something, it usually means that it's probably not the most testable code, which means it won't be the most maintainable code. So if you refactor this code, it makes it easier to maintain down the line. And remember, testing is all about behavior and your expectations of that behavior. So, anyone heard of TDD? So, test-driven development. So, in that process, you write tests, they fail. You write functions to make the test work, test will pass, and then you can refactor and complement. So, basically, you write the test first, it fails, you fix it, test it, and keep going. So, smaller steps, and you iterate on top of that. the difference between TDD and BDD is BDD is behavior-driven development, except it focuses on the behavior and the specifications, where TDD is more of the functional piece. So, most managers will understand a user needs to log in, and if they provide the wrong username and password, it won't log in or log out. The TDD test might actually look at the functions and what they're called and how they work. So it's good for developer, but BDD sort of bridges the gap. Makes it more readable, more understandable, and that helps us when you're reporting those to management. And you can actually get your managers and stuff involved in creating like an outline of what your test should do. Does anyone use user stories, use cases? So if you have a set of user stories, you should be able to write your tests that match that. So, the user should be able to view the login screen. They should be able to enter a username and password when they hit the button. If it's correct, they log in. If it's incorrect, it takes them here. So if you have all the user stories, you can write your test that match that. And then when the test runs, it visibly reads like that so a manager can see what's failing, why, and they can go tell the right person to go fix it. And just as a side note, when you're looking at JavaScript, there's not many TDD examples. Everything is BDD, and it's all that sort of described in blocks. So here's a TDD example. So test, an email address must not be blank, and then the assertion is it's not equal email to nothing failed. So what's that test doing? Can anyone tell me? Yep.
Testing that the email string is not equal to a blank string.
Yep, so it's testing that the email variable is not an empty string, basically. So, compared to something like this, where you expect email not to be empty string. Which one's more readable?
This one.
So, that was a BDD example, and test box has all the matches so you can write stuff like this. So in here, you have the expect, then you have the value that you're testing, and then you have a matcher. So this one we're saying to be, and a minute ago we saw the not to be, and I'll show you a list of matches in a minute. But basically these are the functions that you're trying to check that variable against. And then true is what you expect in there. And all these functions usually have an extra parameter, which I recommend you use religiously, which is a user-friendly error message when it fails. Because otherwise we try and write one, but it's nowhere near as good as if you're writing the test, you can put a message saying, the email address should not be blank, instead of expected blank got this. And so you definitely should use those. We have negate this too, so you can put a not period in front, and then basically it negates that matcher. And here's some other matches for you for testing. So you can expect something to be true, not to be true, to equal something, to match. So you can use regex as well. So you can do not to match, to be defined, not to be defined, to be array, to be query, to be component. There's all these different matches there. They're all available in the test box. So basically when you're testing, you can make sure that the result of these functions are what you expect it to be. So in the BDD example, we basically break up the blocks. So the first one is a describe block. So these are basically the functions that make it more readable. So we describe something. So the hello world function is what we're working on here. And then you have the nice closures for everything. So I'll just skip that for now. But describe hello world function. It contains the word world. And then inside that I write my test to basically prove that. So I expect the hello world function to contain the word world. And then if it does, it'll pass. If it doesn't, it'll fail. So there's all sorts of extra scenarios. And today I'm keeping it real simple with describes and its. But this type of stuff can give you a lot more detail into your spec. So if you have really detailed user stories, you can do a lot more detail. So we got a feature. So the feature is box size. And then we can describe it. So in order to know what box I need as a distribution manager, I want to know the volume of the box. So with the scenario that I get a box volume, given I have this, this, and this, when I do this, then I should get this. And so it actually reads that way, and when you run the test, it outputs that way. And so someone who's reading, like your manager or someone from maybe the design team or something sees a failed test, they know what it was about, what it was trying to do, and it's much more readable. Because I can put a describe and it block for this, But obviously, this is way more detailed, and depending, like I said, depending on your process, you can go overkill like this, or you can do a smaller version, but it gives you all these functions to help you work with that. So, okay, that's the testing overview. If you want to learn more, we have training into the bots and whatnot. We do a whole training on testing. So I just gave you the quick version there, so everyone's up to speed, right? Has anyone installed test bots before? Okay. So who's not using command box? Okay. So you can still install it. We're going to use all the command box ways. So when you're in command box to install a module like test box install test box, you can still download it, extract it, to a folder and everything. No problem there. But if you go to the documentation, you can see how to do it. But command box makes it easy. So box install test box, that'll install the package in there, and then we just have to figure out how we want to run it. Okay. So there's templates on the documentation site. There's even templates you can spin up if you want to just start up a new app using command box. You can scaffold an app and has all this stuff. But basically, inside your test folder, we're going to have a runner.cfm, and it looks something like this. You don't usually have to worry about it, but basically it has a bunch of options. So we have a reporter type, we have a directory where your tests are going to be held, we tell it if we want to recurse or not. So copy paste in there, that's all you need to know. And we have some new stuff with code coverage analysis, a couple more lines with code coverage. I'll show you that on my codes. But basically when you run that, you hit that runner file, and it's going to output something like this. So this is what the HTML output looks like. And so you can see I have several suites. And so a suite of tests contain lots of little tests. You can see the block, so it's hard to see, I'll zoom in on the thing soon, but basically there's different levels for the describe and the blocks. So when you do when, then, given, then stories, the indents, you can see them as they go out. You have, in the top right corner, you see like a little notification bar, like a progress bar. That's my code coverage for this app, so that shows you how much of my app that I'm testing actually is covered by my tests. So you can see, right for this app, I've got 70% code coverage of my services. So that's not bad, considering it's a demo app, I thought. So that's built in using Fusion Reactor under the hood. It actually keeps track of which files are being run and what lines are being run, and tells you how much is being actually executed during your testing. And so you can see how many tests passed, how many failed, how many errored. There's also debug information. So if you want to output some debug information to see why your test isn't doing what you should, you can output debug information. It's pretty neat. You can filter tests. You can click on a test to get one. And all this is done for you nice and simply. But if you want to build something too, Testbox also supports other reporters. So there's like a JSON output. So if you put reporter equals JSON on the end of that, now it's going to output a whole bunch of JSON. So let's see what happens here. If I click. Now you have all that information in JSON format. So we use this for continuous integration tests. So if you're running GitLab or some pipeline or whatnot, you can run your test, get this JSON, and you can look in those fields to see, did I have any tests that failed? If you do, you can kick out your build and say, I can't build this app right now, it's failing. If it passes, then you can continue. So that's built in there as well. So, and there's other reporters, and you can make your own reporters too. So if you have a special format, you can do that. So another way to run your tests is you can actually run them with command box. So if you write test box run, it'll run your test in your command line. So if you're inside VS Code and you've got your terminal open, you can just do test box run, and all your tests will run there. So I do test box run, it's executing that, it's passing that JSON piece out, and it comes back with this information. So now you can see my tests here. So you can see that this my user service test, I have 2 tests that passed, 0 that failed, and 0 that errored. And if it fails, it should blow up massively, so we try and break one real quick. So I'm just going to come in here and say this should be a query on component. Run my test again, it should fail miserably. There you go. So you get the error right in your console. So that's kind of cool. remember before when you write your code, you go to your browser, you refresh the page, and you go put the right spot and see if it blew up. Now you can do this, but that's kind of annoying having to run the test all the time, right? So if your test box watch, now it's watching my files. By default, it watches for certain files, so if you put something weird in a weird location, it may not see it. But if I come back here and change it should see it. Yep, sees it. It sees I did something different. It's going to run the test again. So that works inside of VS Code. If you have another window, multiple windows or screens, you can have your command line tool over here. Every time you save your code, you refresh your test and see if you're passing your way. So it's a good way to make sure that you're not introducing bugs as you go. So that's another way you can run it. So let me just show you in the browser real quick. That way I can blow it up a little bit here. So I can run my test again. Blow it up a bit. So yeah, so you can see the coverage here, the total number of tests. If I just want to see which ones failed, I can filter them, which ones passed. So you can see registration allows the user to register for the site. Login allows the user to log into the site. Will allow the user to view the add rank form if they're not logged in. So these test names mean something and you can make them user friendly. If you want to debug, you can click here and see the output of certain tests, but don't look at that word. We're still moving on the slides here. Okay. Okay, so I've got a little demo site for this presentation. So it's Soapbox, which is named the same as our podcast, but they have after the fact. But it's also our Twitter clone. So we're doing a training after the conference, a 2-day workshop, called Box 0 to Hero, and this is what we build in the 0 to Hero training. So I'm actually using that code. And so this is basically a Twitter clone. So we make it so a user can go register, they can log in, they can log out, they can rant. They can also fist bump and chocolate ice cream swirly emoji. We don't like that. Not sure if I'm allowed to say the other one. So yeah, so it's a simple app. So everybody understands those concepts, registering, logging in, logging out, posting, fist bump, etc. So that's what we're going to use for the site. So let me show you that real quick. So nice and big. So I can register. If I want to go to start a rant, tells me I have to log in because you have to be logged into Rant. If I just go to the home page here, I can see the rant, so I come to test here. I can fist bump something. Oh, no, I can't because I'm not logged in. There you go. I was like, it's broken. It's working. I don't know, I swear. So, simple little thing. If I come in here and log in, oh, wow. Is that figured out? Make a new account.
Password.
Yep, there we go. Okay, so, I come in here, fist bump, chocolate swirl ice cream. I can click on a person to see all their rants, etc. So, real simple little app. But that's what we're going to be testing today to make sure it's doing what I think it should be doing. So, we're going to add some tests to that. Okay. So obviously that's ColdBox 0 to Hero, so that means this app is ColdBox. That's okay. It's ColdBox, but it's still just a Cold Fusion app. So like most Cold Fusion apps, it has CFCs that our functions are written into. Who here uses CFCs? Yeah, exactly. So you guys know what a CFC looks like. Who here uses CFM for views? Exactly. So ignore the rest of the framework stuff. Don't worry about it. If you want to learn more about it, we have lots of courses on that, but you don't need to know it today. So it's just a side effect. So we want to write our first test, right? So what test should you write first? Any ideas?
Oh, the home page.
Oh, the home page. Yeah, so usually what I recommend for the first test is the biggest way to cover yourself. And like I said, this is to start out. The easiest test to write and the biggest bang for your buck, I think, is basically 3 or 4 lines of code. You can write a test for a CFC. So if you have 20 CFCs in your site, and you write this little code for each one of them, you can check to make sure that you can actually instantiate that CFC and without it blowing up. So if you write these little tests, I'm going to show you how to do that in a minute, you can basically stop yourself from having compilation errors in your CFCs. So think about it, if you had to check every single function in your CFCs normally by clicking around your app to find to make sure that it would blow up, it could take a while. But this test here is super simple. We have a component extends based integration test. Don't worry about that, we just put some cool stuff in there and make all our tests run a little better. But we basically have a function run, so in test blocks, your function run, that's where your tests go. And here we have described the Rant service. And we have a before each here, which basically say before each test, we want to get a new version of our service, okay, our Rant service. We're using Wirebox, so we can say get instance of Rant service. If you're not using Wirebox, you can do new and then the path to your model, etc. to create your service. So here, we're creating a service, and then in our test, we're going to use it. So we're going to test say the Rant service, it can be created. So before the test, it's going to create one, and we're going to check to make sure it's a component. So that test, as simple as that is, basically it's going to instantiate the object. So if there's any compilation errors, it's going to throw an error. And now we test to make sure that that can stop. So super simple. Everybody here can do that. So if you've got a CFC, you can write a couple lines of code here. Now your CFC will be tested for compilation errors. I want to test to make sure what you do inside of that works the way you want it to get. But this will at least give you some coverage. So if you guys, who has 20 CFCs in their app? Anyone got 50 CFCs in their app? Anyone got 100? 150? A million? It might take a little longer for some of them. But with that, basically, you can get yourself some pretty good coverage. It's not perfect, but voice coverage, right? Leave it a little bit better than you found it, a little cleaner than you found it. You can't solve all your problems today, but add these to your test, and now your app has a whole lot more coverage than it did yesterday. So that's the first test I'd recommend to everybody to get started. So next thing we can do is we can write a unit test, right? Can list all users. So now our service can give us a list of users. And we can see that what it returns can be an array. So should we write our unit test now? It's a trick question because this isn't a real unit test. So anyone tell me why it's not, and I'll get you a book. Yep. Because it's accessing the database. Remember, a real unit test, it should have, basically just be that bit of code. You should mop the dependencies, etc. So it's more like a little integration test, really. It's still a piece of code, but it's integrated. So grab yourself a book button. So should we write unit tests? Yeah, unit tests are great. I mean, if you've got some code that does some complex logic, unit tests are great for that. You can just test that one little piece. And think about it, if you have an app that you have to do certain tasks to get through all these if-else to get to that point to test it, we have a pain in the butt to click through. So something like this, you can say, if Twitter's down, what was this kind of function going to give me? If this is, formatting this number or something, or trying to decode a token or something, you can give it all the edge cases, and these unit tests will make sure it does exactly what you want it to do. Email validation is a good example, because who knows how to validate an email properly? Nobody, because I'll tell you, there's no right way to do it. This breaks all the time. So if you have an email validation process, you should write a test for every possible one that should be valid and see if your stuff actually works, because I'm sure you're wrong. So, as I said, this is basically a CFC level integration test, but this is okay too. So you can definitely write some of these, but think about it. So if you've got 150 CFCs, how many functions do you guys have? 100 times 300, 500, 600, yeah, a lot, right? So if you're going to write unit tests for every single one of those, now we're talking about a lot of work, right? So that's why today I want to recommend doing some integration tests. And the main reason I think it's a good win, like I said, the biggest bang for your buck is that when you get a successful test working, That means you're testing several pieces that are working well by themselves, which a unit test tests one little piece to make sure it's working by itself. But also this tests that several pieces of your app are actually working together. Because I don't know how many times I've tested and all my tests pass, but it doesn't work because the communications fail. Because this test works and this test works, but the way this calls that, someone changed something and they add an extra argument in the middle of my ordered arguments, and now it's all gone together. So this tests that things are working well together. And a few tests can actually make sure that large amounts of your app actually work. And the cool thing is here, you can test your app's key functions or key use cases or user stories actually work. And so if you're getting started, I think this is a good starting point. Like I said, you can always add more unit tests. Again, if you edit that CFC and you touch a function, write some unit tests for it. It's better than it was yesterday, keep improving. But these are some examples of some use cases and user stories you could look. As you guys all mentioned, the first test that you should write probably should be the homepage loads, right? You make sure the homepage actually has like 3 blog posts on it, or maybe has the picture of your CEO or something. You want to make sure that users can register, users can log in, because without that, you're kind of dead in the water, right? You also want to make sure that if they try and do something they shouldn't and they're not logged in, just take them back to the login page or show them an error. Also, if you got like shopping carts or something, don't you think if you have a shopping cart and they can't add products to the shopping cart, it's probably a bad thing? So maybe you don't need to write 600 tests today, but if you can write 5 or 6 like this, it'll cover your butt, right? And that's what testing is. It's covering your butt, giving you that confidence to be able to make changes and realize that you're not going to break the world. Who has a legacy app that they're scared to touch? Your first hand up, you can't get a book too bad. Because I feel your pain, you deserve it. And if you've got legacy, there's a lot of cool modern ways to write modern CFML in here, so it's definitely worth reading. By the way, this book is available free online. You can buy the hard copy, but it's free online if you want to just read it. And it's a good book, lots of cool stuff. Louise has been working on it forever, so yeah. So we can write some integration tests. Now, is that readable, or I'm going to go to the code in a minute, but I'll just sort of walk through it. So here's an integration test we can write for a user view login page. And this isn't the best way to do it. I'm just showing you the way you get started. So describe the login. The it saying allows the user to see the login page. So we're going to use CFHTTP. We're going to make a call to our login page with the method get. We're going to store the result. Then we're going to expect the result.status code. This is called Fusion 2018, so it's status code, just in case you guys have different versions. I think some of the keys changed. But result.status code should be 200 OK. And then there's an error message right next to it that told you that instead of saying expected 200 OK, got something else, it says status code of the login page was not 200. In other words, it didn't work. And then we're going to expect that the result.file content should be a string, because the body of the page comes back and CFHTTP is a string. We expect that the length of that file content should be at least 100 characters, because if something isn't that big, it's going to be really bad. And then here, we can do some regex type stuff, so we can say result.file content to match. And here we've got some HTML, so we're basically looking for the login header. And so we give it a bit of HTML, is that on the page? And then we can expect that the file content not to match the logout button, because if you're not logged in, you shouldn't be able to see the logout button. And then we can see if there's a username field and a password field, and you get the idea. So this is one way you can test that they get the login page, that there's certain elements you expected there. Okay, so we can write a test for this.
Can we call this one as an acceptance test?
Sorry?
Can we call this test as also an acceptance test?
Yeah, acceptance test is the question. Could you call this an acceptance test? Yeah, it could be. If this is one of your requirements for your sprint to pass or whatever, you might write an acceptance test that basically meets the requirement of that goal. So if one of the tickets was, create a login page with these 3 fields, this could be your acceptance test, and that could meet that requirement. Yeah, like I said, it's an integration test, but it's testing something that's got a different name. But yeah, totally. And so we can also write an integration test for a login fail. So in this one here, describe the login, because that's like the module of the main chunk of code. It redirects the user back to the login page on a bad login. So CFHTTP URL, when we post that there, we want to store the result in the result and redirect it as false. Now, if you don't do that, you won't get information about what the page is doing. It's going to redirect to the next page. So you lose information. So redirect false means I'm going to wait before I redirect and give you back the response headers. So I'm going to pass a username into it with a CFHTTP param. Pass a username in and a password, and that value for the username is wrong. So when I do this, once that's run, I'm going to expect the result of status code to be a 302 found. Because whether you log in correctly or incorrectly, you're going to get a 302. Because you want to redirect back to the login page or to the My Account login page. So I look for 302, and I get a nice message. If it didn't work, it says a bad login should return a 302 to redirect to the login page. So it didn't, it would show that message. And then here, I expect the result of response header or location to be the login page with an error equals true. So that's what I expect if it didn't work. So if that goes and actually passes, then we know that the login fail is working. Login success, pretty similar. We have a different username and password. We get a 302 again because we're going to redirect, but we're going to redirect to / which is at the root of the app. We know if we got a good password, it was a mistake. Okay? So that's a couple of functions. What should we do next for the next test? Any ideas?
Log out.
Yeah, log out is another good one. Another good one might be view a page that I shouldn't be able to get to unless I'm logged in. So those are sort of the next steps. So we could write an integration for posting to Rant. We could, but this is where it gets a little tricky, right? So if I want to get to that Rant page, I have to be logged in. So if I use CFHTTP to log in, I'm logged in. When I hit the next page, what happens? I bounce back to the login page because how does Confusion know I'm logged in or not? Cookies. So then I have to go and get my cookies from that last response, loop through and put them in the param for the next one and send them. So I can do it, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I don't want to do it for this presentation, but you could. But yeah, cookies. So all those little extra pieces in your browsing experience that we take for granted when we're clicking around like, lazy person, crazy person. So there's got to be an easier way, right? So dealing with CFHTTP isn't easy either. So Hyper is a module that Eric created down here. He's doing a session after this one in this room on modules. You talk about Hyper in there? No, you talk about how to create modules, right? Okay, but he makes modules galore, so he knows what he's doing. But Hyper is a fluent way for you to make HTTP calls. And the cool thing about it is it's user-friendly, it's a nice DSL, just like the test, it matches and everything. And the cool thing is, has anyone used Axios for JavaScript stuff? Okay, so Axios is a JavaScript library and it's got more fluent features too. But the cool thing is you can set up like pre-configured keys and stuff. So if you do the same thing with CFHTTP and you're like dealing with Amazon, you got to pass all this bearer tokens and all sorts of weird stuff. With Hyper, you can say, I want to create a new Hyper connection with these things, and then I can use it everywhere else. So I don't have to keep adding the same stuff to every single HTTP call. But anyway, Hyper's really good. So if you're sick of using CFHTTP, Hyper's a way to make it a little less painful. And then JSoup. So remember those ugly regexes that I was using? They weren't pretty, they worked. I admit they worked with everything. But JSoup is a cool Java HTML parser. And so what it actually allows you to do is to pull in that HTML and actually create modes out of it. You can do query selectors like jQuery, you gotta get stuff, and it's pretty neat. So with that, I can go in and say, hey, inside the nav bar, is there a login button or a logout button? Instead of just looking for a bunch of code. Because how often does a formatting issue, something happens, someone changed the format, with the code I had up there, unless I had the right regex to look for multiple spaces, like that would break if someone changed the button. But this here, I can just look for a query selector for a button inside of this thing, and JSoup will let me do that. So it's much easier. Your code's going to be far less brittle with that type of thing. So, but is that easier? Yeah, it is, but now you got to worry about installing a Java library. You got to write calls in Java. Who writes calls in Java here from Confusion? Is it fun? Yeah, they're laughing. Not really. So it's okay. It's better than it was. Like baby steps, always getting better. but I wanted to show you something else. This is a module for that. So let's talk about integrated. Again, another module by him, Eric. Basically, it's a test box package for even better integration tests in callbox. So start using an easy, fluent API for your integration tests. The cool thing is it has built-in JSON functionality. You don't have to write new Java. It does it for you. So with ForgeBox, you can install it with box install integrated. And if you want to find out more about it, you can search for it on forgebox.io. And there's a GitHub repos there, it's open source, you can go see how it works. And the API docs are there as well. So integrated, you can do a couple of things real quick to get it working, because it is a Java lib in there. So you do have to add this.java settings to your application CFC in your test folder. And on 2018, I had to restart the server just to pick it up. And your tests that you're working in, just make sure they extend the integrated base specs, callbox base spec. And if you're reading that right now, integrated is just for callbox apps because it's got some cool stuff in it that works well with callbox. It is a provider-based system, so if you wanted to write one for Framework 1, you guys could do that. If you wanted to write it for your legacy app, you could. But the other thing is, it's open source, the whole repo is there. So if you want to take some of those bits of Java code that he's already written to do certain things, you could use it for tests and save you the pain to run the JavaScript yourself too. But, so I'm going to show you this stuff, and maybe it's another reason to use Callbox. So let's write an integration test. Okay, so remember all that ugly code we had before, which worked, and that's great. This is a little bit easier. So I'm going to describe the registration. It allows a new user to register for the site. So I'm going to do this.visit event, so registration.new, or I can do /registration. I can see the title on the page is Soapbox. I can see that there's text on that page that is register for Soapbox. I can type my email address into the email field. I can type my password, my username into the user field. I can type a password into the password field. And it's going to go ahead and do all that for you. So you don't have to worry about trying to figure out how to pass that. Because think about the other tests. We got a response back, we couldn't interact with it. This can let you interact with your stuff. So that's a simple one for registration. I know, my screen's freaking out here. Alright. Okay, next one. So here's another one with lots more options, but this is the cool thing about it is now this one, login, allows the user to register for the site. Oh, I didn't change the title of that one, sorry. Actually should be that they can log in. So I'm going to do this.visit /login. I'm going to see the title as Soapbox. I'm going to see an element. So now I'm going to say, I want to see the login text inside of a nav element. So now I don't have to worry about any passing HTML or anything. I'm like, look at this element, is there text? I can also say, don't see an element, start a rant in the nav. Because if you're not logged in, starting your rant is not going to be in the nav. If you're logged in, it will show up. So I can make sure that I'm not logged in, I can't see the right button. And I don't see log out, so I can't see that. And I can type the username and my password into those fields. I can push the login button. Then I can see the element now that I can see start a rant is in the nav. I can see the title of Soapbox. I can see start a new rant. And I can also see start a new rant in case insensitive. I want to put that in there because I didn't realize it was case sensitive. So if you change your spelling or someone updates something, it could fail. So a lot of these have the case insensitive flag too. So now your test, and a few lines of code, and like how hard is this to read? Anyone have trouble understanding what we're doing here? We're basically logging in, making sure that we can't see certain things. Sorry, going to the login page. Making sure the things that should be there are there, making sure the things that shouldn't be there aren't there, typing it in, hitting the button, making sure the response is what we want. All in a few lines of code, and nowhere near the uglies that match reject stuff. So what else can you do with integrate? So again, it fills out forms, so you can type text in text fields, you can select items and select boxes, check boxes, radio buttons, etc. You can submit forms or click links. You can visit pages or events, callbox events. You can check the page that you're redirected to is the right page. You can also check text on a page or an element or in a table or wherever you want. And also, you can do stuff like debug. So maybe your test is failing, you have no idea why. So there's some methods for debug page. So when you go to a page, you can put the debug page method in your output, and then on the debug section, I'll show you in a minute, you get all that output from that call. You can also debug events, collections, which is the RC scope or like the attribute scope. You can also debug the private scope. So there's lots of cool stuff in there. There's a whole documentation that's well documented, so you can see all that. And as I mentioned, it does work with just call bugs, but you could write a framework adapter, so you could write with, like, say, framework 1 or something like that. Maybe not all the features will work because Callbox uses interceptors, so we have like events and everything that triggers certain functions. But also, like I said, if you want to, the repo is actually open source, so you can go in there and see how those methods actually do what you're wanting to do, and you can integrate that into something else.
I'm going to look through some code for a little bit. We're a little short on time, but I am sharing the link here. So this will be where you can get this, and I'll post it on Twitter later as well, so you can go get the code and look through the test. But let's just pull that up real quick so you can see it. There you go. Okay. So here, this is the one we had, so it's a little bit easier to read from that slide. So describe the login. It allows a user to see the login page. So we have an HTTP call. Then we're just checking the result. Check the status code. Check the file content to be a string. We're checking the length of the result of the file content. We're doing some regex matches, not matches, etc. Here's that password test here. So we're checking to make sure if it's a bad login, we redirect to the login page with an error set to true. If it's a good login, then we send them back to the home page. So this is the non-integrated way. And like I said, this is easy and works pretty well for those simpler tests. But once you start getting into the more complicated ones, like having to pass out cookies and logins, etc., then that gets a little trickier. So this one here, so allows users to log in and start a new rant. So up to here, when you log in, this part here, you could do pretty easily on the other side without some options like C and element and etc. They're a little trickier, but right to here when you log in, this is fine. But all these pieces here, JSoup is taking care of the cookies and everything for you to make sure that you're still logged in to be able to continue. And that's where integrated sort of starts to shine. It's just that built-in help. So with the login, I'm actually outputting the debug page here, and I'm outputting it here as well. And that means I can actually see. So let's pull this up real quick here. Just want to show you what that looks like. So here, the login one, okay. So here, so allows user to log in and start a new rant. So this is the page. So this is giving you what the actual page was. This is what it found. So you've got login here, etc. And then once you've logged in, you'll see that this is different here. There's a lot of different content. And what you could do is just pull it open into online HTML viewer, I think. So that's what it looks like. So once they've actually logged in, they'll see this HTML content. Okay. So it's kind of neat that you can just output that there. So in here, I'm outputting the page. So make sure they see the login page first, and then they check for elements. Don't see the logout button. It's not there. They can click start a rant, but it will take them to the login page because they're not logged in. And then they can log in, and then once they're logged in, then they'll be able to see the start a rant button. They'll be able to see all this different stuff. So much cleaner, much cleaner, and much more functional too. So that's what integrated can do for you. Now we have some tests here, and so this is that sample test for the rant service test. So here I get an instance of my rant service, and I expect it to be a component. And just so those who are not real familiar with the way this works in Callbox apps, a models folder, we have the rant service in the model. So by default, Wirebox says if you ask for rant service, and I have a CFC with the same name inside of the folders I look at, which models is one of them, then it'll open this up. And so here it's it's doing stuff like populator and wirebox, all this dependency injection stuff. But this test makes sure that it can start a service and it is a component without any failures. Now, if I come into my Rant service here and I add some weird stuff, you'll see I got an error here. I got a lot of errors because that is now an error in my code. If I go back and save it, my watch is still watching. And it should update here for us. Okay, there we go. All my tests have passed again. So you'll see that this test here, as I mentioned, a simple test, copy paste, change the name of the instance, and if you wanted to do, you could do new models.rant service if you're not using Codebox and Wirebox, etc. That would work too. You don't have to use Wirebox if you don't want to. But I want Wirebox so I get dependency injection and all the other stuff that I love. But that test there can save you. Trust me. So again, the beauty with this is with Codebox and integrated in TestBox. If you hook it up to your CI, every time you push code, your continuous integration can show you that your tests are failing. And then that way you know that you're nice and safe.
So what did we learn? So we learned that simple CFC and init test can quickly protect you from compile errors like that. So that'll save you a lot of headaches at oneself, runtime errors, but at least it'll keep you that far. Integration tests can give you big code coverage quickly, make sure that the apps are doing what they should, and make sure that the key pieces of your app are actually working the way they should. See if HTTP can work for okay basic integration tests, but like I said, if you're going to start passing around cookies, it's a little more work. I mean, you can do it. Ben and Dell has a blog post on it, of course, so you can just steal this code, take up all the spaces, and use that. Pipers and modules make that a little easier too. So you can use instead of the CFHTTP. And then JSoup, like you can integrate that. It works pretty good. It's just, why do more work than you have to, right? And like I said, integrated puts it all together to make it even easier for you. So now, if you guys want to get started with testing, I've got in here, there's a whole bunch of tests that I've found. So there's some from Framework 1, test blocks, command blocks, CFDocs has test too, so it'll be front-end CFDocs. The CFML parser has some too. There's a whole bunch of stuff from Falbio. Ryan's got some stuff out there as well. Brian from Sports Bridge has some as well. So if you want to go see other people's tests and see what they're doing, there's a bunch there. And I'm going to share the slides too if you want. But I've talked a lot. Any questions? Yep.
Is this something that would work well for end-to-end testing? Does it integrate at all with Azure Pipeline?
Well, Azure Pipeline, basically it's just a continuous integration service. It probably runs Docker images and you can run your commands in it. On all of ours, we run command box run test, and then it basically runs the test, and you can pass or fail it. We use it with Bitbucket pipelines, Travis, Circle CI, what else do we use with everything. Yeah, so basically you just run a command box command to run your test. And if you get an exit code, non-zero exit code or whatever, you can do what you want to do with it. So yeah, you can definitely use it with that. And like I said, even if it was just the basics, like does my stuff compile without an error? Do the main pages load up? That's at least something, right? Well, so at least you're not deploying this code that you have no idea if it works. So.
Right now we're using Selenium and actually writing the test for Cold Fusion apps in C#. Yeah. And it is intense.
Yeah, and Selenium's pretty good. Like, it's okay. And actually, one of the adapters I think Eric said it was, we could add to integrated would be like to write a Selenium adapter. So you could run it using JSoup and you could run it using Selenium or something. And so that's something we've talked about with integrated. We just we're busy. We haven't done it yet, but yeah. But yeah, it's painful, right? I mean, that covers probably 90% of the use cases where Selenium would, be used for. So
we've spent 3 months just building use cases.
Okay, 3 months is a lot. Any other questions, guys? Yep.
So in TDD, what is the best methodology? Like a Chicago style or like a London style? In TDD development?
To be honest, I don't know the difference between London style and Chicago style.
Like I think London style is like a top to bottom, and then it's Chicago is like other way around.
Well, I would recommend talking to Luis because he's the test master. Brad and Eric and everyone, they all write a lot of tests. I don't write as many as I should. That's why I do presentations like this because I got the shortcuts. But don't tell Luis you left the room. But yeah, I'm not too sure about the differences to be honest. But yeah, so I asked him. So, but my thing is more testing yesterday is better.
Yeah.
The most coverage. Yep.
As far as like doing an integration test where it's required to like be logged in, what would be like a easy way to do that?
To be logged in for your test.
Yeah.
I mean, usually, hopefully, you probably have a test database. We usually recommend getting a test database using Docker and spin up the database, preload the stuff. Then you can actually log in. And with the cookies, you're logged in. It's just a pain to deal with. So that's why I don't want to show it for this. And I wanted to show why integrated does it better and JSON does that for you. So, but I mean, yeah, log in and then make the calls you need to. I mean, because that's actually simulating your app properly. I mean, the other way is if your app has, like if you're storing something like cobot stuff, a lot of times we'll have a security service and it's like that, we store something in the cache who's logged in. So you can lock that, you can say, I'm logged in, this is the user ID. If your app stores something in there for an ID, you can do that. It just depends on what you're doing. But I mean, for an integration test, why not do the whole thing? Like I said, the problem is if you're on a live database or your staging database, and you're making all these uses and stuff, it can be kind of a pain. But I think integrated actually has a flag that will do transactions. So when you add all your stuff, it'll reverse it for you. So when you make uses, then the test finishes, it removes them all because it just reverses the transaction. So, but yeah, I'm not sure if that helped. If there's no more questions, thanks everybody for coming. Appreciate it.